No eviction notices have been given out to landowners to acquire lands for the construction of the Curepe Interchange. This from attorney at law representing the Ministry of Works and Transport, Marvin Gonzales, who addressed the media at a press conference today. Cherrylene Lewis reports.
The Ministry of Works and Transport says the ministry never threatened to evict any residents who will be affected by the Curepe Interchange. In fact, Marvin Gonzales said that's not something the ministry can do and denies such reports stating that residents receive notices to evict.
The ministry issued a letter to the affected residents outlining the history of the communication that took place between both the residents, their representatives, and the ministry. The ministry indicated to the residents that if they fail to vacate or to give up their properties as is required under Section 4, that the ministry would have absolutely no choice but to invoke other powers under the Land Acquisition Act that in no way should be interpreted as an eviction order, because under the Land Acquisition Act it makes absolutely no provision for the issuance of eviction orders.
Further, Mr. Gonzales said the ministry was advised that it appeared the residents who were affected were making huge claims on their properties which they couldn't justify to the land valuator. And as such, he said, this was stalling the progress of the project.
Some of the residents are making claims well over 300% of their actual property values. The Commissioner of State Lands, the Commissioner of Valuations, advised the residents to provide proof that their properties are valued in the manner in which they are negotiating. And to date, they have failed to provide the necessary documentary evidence to prove their claim.
Under Section 4 of the Land Acquisition Act, the ministry has the right to invoke what's needed to acquire the properties. But Mr. Gonzales said the ministry has been lenient and has issued new Section 4 notices giving residents ample time to negotiate with the land's valuator for compensation. Cherrylene Lewis, TTT News.
Minister of Works and Transport Rohan Sinanan says he's not the owner of the lands on which the now demolished K-Donna Drive-In Cinema once stood. In fact, Minister Sinanan explains he's actually a shareholder of a company called Valsane Resource, which owns several properties in and around the Valsane vicinity, giving the assurance he has nothing to do with the Curepe Interchange project of his line ministry. Once again, Cherrylene Lewis reports.
I'm advised that the Minister of Works and Transport is not one of the owners of the property as is being said in the media.
Confirmation by attorney for the Ministry of Works and Transport that Minister Rohan Sinanan doesn't own any property upon which the land for the Curepe Interchange will be utilized. And Minister Sinanan said he has shared with the Integrity Commission that he's a shareholder in the company, Valsane Resource.
I was a director and a shareholder at that time. Maybe about, I think it was about 7 or 8 years ago, I relinquished that, but I still maintain a beneficial interest because that transaction was not fully completed. So I have declared that on my integrity form for the last 20 odd years, and I continue to benefit until the payment is not completed for my shares. I have to maintain that I do have a beneficial interest in it.
With respect to the Curepe Interchange, Minister Sinanan says the ministry has been fair to affected residents, and as such he believes their claims for compensation can't be properly justified.
The Commissioner Valuation has to justify the figure that they're paid. So I don't think, and this is a process that the public can write and get the information on. This is not a sealed process. This is an open and transparent process where Commissioner Valuation does the valuation and he has a figure. The landowners has a figure. And the Commissioner Valuation, they have to convince the Commissioner Valuation that this is the correct value.
Initial work has begun on the interchange, which it's hoped will relieve the burden of traffic congestion for commuters. Cherrylene Lewis, TTT News.